Hi there, my name's Bonnie Morse, and I'm here to read you a couple of pages from my book, The Bedlam Boys, which, I hope that you'll like and maybe go buy a copy of yourself. See if I can get it into the frame for you. There it is. Not a very good picture, but I'll get you a better one at the end, I promise. You might be wondering why I'm not in the frame myself. That's a really good question. I mean, a lot of people have said that I should be to capitalize on the fact that, I'm really seriously disabled and kind of pathetic and everything, but the truth is I'm so funny looking, I'm not sure you could stand it. And, I don't really want the pity vote. I really just want you to like the story. So I'm going to read to you, and I'm going to show you my cat, Roy DeSoto, instead. Wave to the audience, Roy. Roy's not waving because he is, of course, a cat. But he is going to lay there and blink at you, and, he might do something cute. I don't know. Anything can happen. So, The Bedlam Boys by Bonnie Morse, Chapter 2. Not too spoilery, I don't think. The unofficial dictatorship had become a matter of habit to the people of Mount Riley, something they lived with and bitched about without questioning too closely, the way citizens of other cities complained about taxes and ignored the benefits that accrued from them. Mount Riley taxed its people in other ways, and the rewards were much greater, beyond good roads and low crime rates, beyond parks and schools and libraries, although they had those things too. What they really had was the security of knowing that if they followed the rules, which admittedly were mostly unwritten and subject to change without warning, they would be protected like the privileged children of the wealthy all their lives. All they had to do was not anger the dictator, and escaping his notice was generally easier than not. Only the dedicated few, the true criminals who saw this crime-free utopia as easy pickings, had to watch their backs. Everyone else lived extraordinarily sheltered lives, the lives of sheep maybe, but after 21 years they couldn't remember what it was like to be their own shepherds. They mostly forgot that the dictator, though he might be dressed like a shepherd, was really a wolf, and so long as he was running down someone else, they didn't care. He had started it slowly, buying up their town, his town, a little at a time, and molding it into the one he wanted. First it was just rental properties, then businesses, and almost before they knew it, he was underwriting insurance policies and running a bank. If it was funded with drug money, well, so was everything else. And in spite of his success, or perhaps because of it, drugs seemed to be on the decrease. More and more dealers were disappearing, and the police weren't doing much about it. But then he owned the police, too, and though everyone whispered about that, they didn't really believe it. That might have been the one thing to shock the sheep out of their complacent acceptance, but they didn't understand. Most of them didn't understand about the newspaper either. The reporters and editors did, of course, and Nikki went a ways to placate them. They could have blown it up at any moment, but so long as they had nice salaries and enough other good stories to make them feel they were maintaining their journalistic integrity, they were happy. Anyone who wasn't happy went somewhere else with Annaman's blessing. Unless they complained too much, those people generally disappeared. Nikki knew that this was part of what made him so unpopular, but again, it wasn't his fault. He was never thanked for the good that he did, but when someone fell off the face of the earth, everyone looked askance at him for weeks afterwards. After he officially met the boy, Nikki went back to business as usual. Nate was getting stronger, his lab tests were coming back clean, and he wasn't being any trouble. Even Annaman, who took his public image very seriously, saw nothing but positive spin potential. Nikki thought it was all going a little too well, and then, a few days later, one more thing was dropped into his lap, or rather, delivered to his door. He suspected it would be bad news when the gate intercom buzzed, and he saw Detective Davis O'Connell on the monitor screen. He pressed the button to open the gate without asking what their business was. The police came to his house maybe twice a year, and they didn't play rock, paper, scissors for it either. They sent O'Connell and Harkins even when it wasn't a homicide matter. Since the death of O'Connell's last partner, no one else would go. He got up from his desk, intending to meet them on the porch. Annaman didn't like him having people in the house, and, at least in this case, Nikki tended to agree. He could never have Davis in his home without remembering the first time he'd been there, when he was a patrol officer responding to a domestic disturbance. Modoc was long gone by the time the cops broke in and found Nicholas on the floor, naked, bleeding, but no longer screaming. Davis had called for an ambulance and then just held him in his arms, unable to do anything else for such gruesome wounds, His partner didn't even do that much, finding the mutilation of the dictator's young business manager a matter of real amusement. Everyone had supposed that Nikki would die of his injuries, and when he didn't, Davis became a detective, and his partner became dead. So that should give you a little bit of an idea of, how things run at Mount Riley and who has the power. I hope it was interesting, and you'll want to give it a read. And here's a quick little picture of the cover, if I can get the camera that way. I'm really bad at this, as you might have noticed. Zooming down, and whoop, there we are. That's it. And back up to Roy for one little goodbye. Wave goodbye to the audience, Roy. Yeah, he's still a cat, so that's not going to happen. But I thank you for joining us for this edition of Storytime with Bonnie Morse, and we'll see you next chapter. Bye.